Assalamualaikum and good afternoon, everyone. We are back on this platform. A big thanks to all of the audience who have been staying with us for the past 2 days for our FameLab virtual heat. Now, if you just joined us for today, that's okay. We would also like to welcome you onto this virtual platform. And for those who have watched our contestants' presentations for the past 2 days, we hope that you have gained a meaningful insight just as much as we did. And we are proud to actually mention that Malaysia has actually produced two FameLab International Champion Professor Dr. Abi in 2016, followed by Dr. Siti Khairia in 2018. So the bars are quite high right now, I would say, because people are starting to build expectations, We look forward to having our national winner this year to be competing with other national winners from other countries as well. So coming back to the session, there is a total of 58 participants competing in the virtual hits this year. And if you've watched our previous virtual heats, previously I did mention that there were only going to be 10 seats for national finals, but due to our competitive contestants with strong presentations they brought onto the plate, judges have actually decided to add one more seat to the national final. So in total, out of 58 participants, 11 participants will be selected to go to national final round. And in addition to grooming our national finalists, the ones selected will join a masterclass on science communication delivered by UK science communication expert Mr. Dallas Campbell himself. So, coming back to the results right now, I'm pretty sure all of you are anticipating the names of the 11 contestants selected to go to national final round. We do have the results in our hand right now. But before our judges announce the finalists, they will share their thoughts and feedbacks on the overall performance of the contestants on these seasons of virtual hits round. So we will start with Mr. Kamarul. Hi, Mr. Kamarul.
Hello.
So, Mr. Kamarul, according to you, do you have any comments or any thoughts about the overall performance on the virtual heats?
Yeah, I think you look even more energetic this year. I was expecting, a bit of a lull because of the very murky and down feeling because of the pandemic. But some of the contestants really surprised me this year because I thought, it's going to be a bit subdued, the mood is going to be gloomy. But some of them, it's as if the pandemic, it doesn't even exist. They are very focused on what they are researching into or what they are doing. They pull out that specific pillar of subject matter and they just try to convince me and my two fellow judges. But lucky for me, I'm the least science of all the three judges. So I don't even care about their specific pillar. I just go into all my deliberation and look, what does this mean for us? We are already stricken by the public health issue of the virus. The economic sector is going down because of that, MCO and everything else. So what would the things they are saying be contributing to us now, not 5 years from now, not 10 years from now? So that has been my angle. And I do apologize to the contestants because I know exactly that I made some of them a bit uncomfortable asking those kind of angles, but that's my job. I think that's why mine and British Council wanted me to be here, because to bridge the specificity of science to the relevance. I was having a lower expectation, but I got a few surprises this year. Congrats to all these contestants.
Good. They do serve more, don't they?
Yeah.
So in terms of challenges in virtual and non-virtual platform, what do you have to comment about this? Do you notice any distinctive differences between virtual and non-virtual platform?
You know, Hasana, I'm always, you've seen me in the media and communicating. You know that I'm very hands-on.
You would be the best to understand.
No. I'm very hands-on, and communication is my life. So I learned a long time ago to read everything, your subtle nuances, that crease of the eyebrow, that sweat or non-sweat on your forehead. The thing about virtual is, I think it reduced my normal method of assessing communication by 50% at least, because
Oh.
it's so sanitized when it's online. And then that's the while we think that our broadband is enough, but sometimes for me as a communicator and a professional communicator, that is not good enough. I want HD. I want, tiny details of the pores on the face, for example. So that was taken out of it for a bit for me. But like any journalist, we've got to use the best of what we have. So what I do for this year for myself when I'm looking at the contestant is I go deeper because I have less to look at. So those that I look at, or the things or the criteria that I look at, I go a bit deeper compared to if it's a face-to-face version. So I even notice quiver in their voices, and you know, uh, I think, don't tell the other two judges, I think I'm the kindest on the panel. You see, so when Dr. Lees and I would like to call him Prof forever, Prof Jalil, when they really hit them on the science of it or the relevance of it. So what I do is I really my focus is, okay, what's the mood of the person receiving that report? All that I put it into context, and but not to punish. But I was thinking, if I was in their shoes taking that question, how would I answer it? So on the sideline I have to like fast Google, and I have never, if you say lotus, I only two things come to mind. One is a flower, the other is the car, the sports car used to be owned by Proton. Now I know there's a lotus effect. That's why in the future, my car, I don't need to wash. So when you have this information and then you speed search, thank God to Google, and it gives you the ability while the contestants are answering, a semblance of comparative communication outlook. So to me, that's very important because I don't expect every single contestant to be already fully professional at this. That's why this is the hit. So now that we have selected and those that have been graded to go up, I mean, these people with all the master classes, and I'm sure they can talk to the judges and all the former world winners and stuff. So that's where the real deal is. So for now, I think for the hits, I am very thankful for all those who have contested because, like I said, my expectations were lower. I think lesser people who have applied. People are even talking about mental health every day now. So that's the situation we are in. But scientists are scientists. Prof would know this better than I do. They're like a racehorse. If they are studying something or researching something, they won't let go. So I guess that's good for this year in that sense.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kamaru, for your input. Well, usually when you mention about Lotus, right, I'm impressed that you came up with the machinery and the cars. You know what came to my mind? I was thinking about Lotus Biscoff. And I'm so hungry
Okay.
right now. I'm gonna get the cake later.
Actually, Hasana, there's one more thing.
Yes.
When MCO is over, you take a drive along Jalan Tunku Doraman.
Uh-huh.
You see to your left near before Pertama Complex if you're coming from Chowkit. And then there's a good nasi kanda near Lotus.
Oh, that's another good input. But
Yes.
this one we do it behind camera. We'll
Yes.
talk about this behind camera. Thank you, Mr. Kamaru. All right. So on the bright side, actually, while competing on virtual platform, actually on the bright side, it's a good thing because you can win a ticket to national finals from the comfort of your home. So that's a pretty good deal, right? All right. So we will be moving on to our next judge, Professor Jalil Ali. Prof, can you hear me?
Hi, Nah, and my
Hi.
yes, and my fellow judges here. Actually, it has been quite some time since I heard and see you. Quite
Wow.
quite some time because of the pandemic issues which came out. But nevertheless, I'm quite happy to have this session, and hopefully things would flourish better. Go ahead.
Inshallah. So, Prof, what is your overall comment about the contestants in these two virtual hits?
You see, actually for this year, I was totally caught by surprise. Surprise in the sense that the number of participants or contestants has increased to a very high value of 58. Usually, it'd be less than that. And coupled with the pandemic situation, I was quite surprised to see them coming in despite the various difficulties they were facing it, as Kamarul has mentioned, that issues of broadband and so on, but they never give up. Now, looking at the level of this contestant, I find that they have certain commonality. One of those is that they have a good grasp of English. At the same time, they have this science technology element in them, meaning they are quite knowledgeable. The only problem with them is they are unable to take it out. Not all, some of them to take it out at a level whereby laymen could understand, meaning this is the essence of this science communication exercise. But generally, they are willing to improve and look at those things, because during the question and answer session, I found that they were very confident in the sense that they are knowledgeable. They try to articulate despite some difficulties. Now, sometimes, as Kamarul and this has mentioned earlier on, I'm a little bit nasty. I would go into the basic to make sure that they have a strong fundamental. If they're good at that, then I would delve into the advanced level to see whether how would they relate to the industry, the society, and so on. That presumably may caught them by surprise. But nevertheless, I still give them a good grading in this exercise because I want to see them moving forward. Remember, they didn't have any form of training. They only know the sciences. They only know what to do. They only can speak and present, but they are not able to articulate. So we must give benefit of doubt in this sense. Go ahead. Yes, Hasana, go ahead. Hasana, can you hear me?
To you.
Yeah, go.
Sorry. Hello, I can hear you, Prof. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Test.
Yes. Yeah.
Prof, can you hear me? All right, great. So, Prof, in terms of their enthusiasm while answering the questions and also giving you a sufficient answer, what is your comment about that in terms of their enthusiasm in presenting and also answering all of the questions and Q&As by the judges?
First thing, they're passionate about the science communication program. When we post them, even how difficult the question is, I could see that they never give up. They tried their utmost best to try to answer what we were trying to question them. And at the same time, even though we know that the answer is not within that, we try to guide them. So looking on this basis, I think they are very enthusiastic about what they wanted to do, and they want to show that they are capable of answering to all those things.
Thank you, Prof. Jalil. Well, at the end of the day, I think everyone can actually agree that science is not finished until it is communicated. That's why we have publications. That's why we have. Now, we will be moving on to our final judge, Dr. Liz Alexander. Dr. Liz.
Hi, Hassana. How are you? You're kind of freezing on my screen, I'm afraid. Can you hear me?
Oh, but I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is my screen still freezing?
It has been, but we'll not worry about it too much.
All right.
The joys of modern technology, yes.
Exactly. Talking about bandwidth, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So, Dr. Liz, what is your comment about the overall performance of the contestants?
Well, what I was particularly excited about this year, in comparison perhaps to former years, is the more diverse reach that we've had. Not only, as Jalil said, have we had more participants this year, but we've had several from industry. We had a lady from Malindo Air. We had a guy from a company that promises us a better future for farming. And we had a secondary school teacher. And so I felt that was terrific, because science communicators or STEM communicators don't necessarily have to come just from academia. It's got a much broader reach than that. And so I thought this year having that diverse participation was very exciting.
I cannot agree more with you, Dr. Liz. So while we hope that we can bring everyone to national finals, unfortunately we cannot. So is there any advice or some encouragement for those participants who did not make it, who may not make it to final this year, Dr. Liz?
Yes, Susanna, let me start with some encouragement. I think since COVID and our awareness of COVID, we've seen that there's been so much misunderstanding, dare I say ignorance, about certain scientific topics. You know, things like people being confused by efficacy rates, comparing different brands of vaccines, and sometimes blowing the risks of the side effects of vaccines out of all proportion. You know, there's never been a more important time in a way for science communicators to bridge the gap between accuracy, you know, what is factual information, and accessibility, which is just what Jalil was saying. So that's the piece of encouragement. Please go out there. We need you. We need you to go out and share your knowledge with the world. And when you read in the media, particularly, information that you know is wrong, then speak up and let people know what the true facts are. So that's the bit of encouragement. Excuse me. As far as the advice is concerned, I've got 3 pieces of advice. And the first one is echoing what Prof. Jalil said earlier. You need to go where your audience is. And I don't mean geographically or physically. I mean where they are mentally. You know, so often we get excited and passionate about our topics, not realizing that other people really don't care to the extent that we do. And they won't care unless we make what we have to say relevant to their lives. So as I say, it's making that bridge, making that connection between what people care about and the topic that you have to offer. So that's the first one. The second piece of advice is it's so important to paint a picture in their minds, in our minds, in the audience's minds, because so much of science and technology is abstract and technical. But if you paint a picture in my head using stories or analogies or any of the other kind of storytelling techniques, then that will stick with me and I will remember what you said. That's also very important. And the final piece of advice is please take every opportunity to speak to real people. You know, very often we get caught in our own academic silos or what have you, or our own organizations, and we're sharing acronyms and, you know, we're doing the same speak. Go and talk to Nanek and Kakek about your topic and see if they understand what you're talking about. Because if they're not, you're going to lose a general audience, and it's really important that that accessibility piece is paramount.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Liz. That is a great input. I mean, that's the point of it, right? That's the whole point of science communication. Try explaining about how vaccination works or whatever science concept to a 10-year-old or even to your grandmother. If they don't understand, maybe there's something that we can work on more. And that is a very great point to highlight on. So thank you, Dr. Liz. Thank you, judges, for sharing all of your feedbacks. And after years of being committed with FameLab Stage, and this is our final season, so thank you so much. We really appreciate all of you for being with us. And thank you so much for all the constructive criticisms for all these years and for showing us that judges are here not to criticize, rather to help. Yeah. All right. So now, the time has come for us to find out who will march into national finals round. I hope everyone are on the edge of your seat, and however, please do keep in mind that the sequence that we are announcing our finalists, they are not in any order according to markings and all. They are announced based on rather randomly. So, all right, we will start with Mr. Kamarul Bahrin. Mr. Kamarul,
Yes, I'm
will
just
you
making
do me the honor to announce
Of
the
course.
first few winners?
Of course. Life is a sense of irony. I've always wanted to do science. I went to science university, but I only have a combination of science and arts, and that's communication, broadcasting, all this. So God will always put in my past something. Can you imagine when people say concrete? Concrete means that's it. It's not alive and everything else. But this lady and two other contestants that I'm gonna name, they just presented things that I've never heard before much. And from the first, a lady that is going to ensure that my next building, I don't have to maintain it because it will self-maintain. Komala Selvamutu Raja, yay! And she is going to be joined by Saudara Hadri Hadi Yusof. Whoa! And last and not least from me, the third one, it's always important to have gender diversity, and ladies are doing it for themselves in science and science communication. Uma Shangari Aroldas! Woo!
Right, congratulations to all three contestants who are marching to national finals. Thank you, Mr. Kamarul. All right, so we are moving on with Professor Jalil Ali, Prof.
Thank you, Hassana. The list which we're going to announce will be quite difficult because they come from a very, very background, as Liz has mentioned. They ranges from artificial intelligence with an interplay of chemistry, and then there are some with biology, and there's another one which I think most would be appreciative of it. It has to do with cancer, so I'm going to lump it under medicine. And there's another one which is very difficult, tricky, and usually the field is quite difficult in the sense that, as Liz has mentioned, Kamarul, is very abstract. Abstracts are things which find it difficult to bring into the picture, especially for laymen. And I think all these four finalists, list of finalists, a continuity from Kamarul, has provided me with the confidence in giving them appropriate weightage when we were choosing them. It was quite close, quite competitive. We had a difficult time. Now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce the next list, which starts with Dr. Ahmad Lufti Amri bin Ramli, right? And the next one is followed by Mr. Gregory Dominic. And I still remember the next one is a lady. And this lady, when she was having the Q&A, she had a tough time trying to manage. And luckily, the husband was around, if I'm not mistaken, helped her with the internet connection. And she is Madam Gayatri Munyandi. Last but not least in this list is Kit K. Mark, who deals with artificial intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Yep.
Thank you. Congratulations to the four names listed by Prof. Jalil that will go to national final round. So for the last and finally not the least, we have Dr. Liz Alexander, Head of Judges, to announce the remaining finalists. Dr. Liz, back to you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to do it slightly differently. I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of them and then announce their names. Excuse me, I'm having a bit of trouble with my throat today. So the first participant who is going through is a representative of industry, which I thought was wonderful. He had a very interesting topic linking technology and food. What I particularly liked with him is that he demonstrated a good command of answering the questions. You know, you can prepare a presentation and you can rehearse, but the participants never know what we're going to ask them for questions. So my scores are always largely bound up with how confident are you, how knowledgeable are you in answering those questions. So Daniel Nessam, come forward. We're proud to have you.
Daniel Nessam.
Our next participant, her interest is in pediatric nutrition and bone health. But for us, maybe taking into account some of our advanced ages, she went to the other end of the age spectrum in talking about fractures in bones for senior life. And so I found this was a particularly fascinating link and something that I hadn't heard very much before between bone health, the prevention of bone loss, and gut health. She was very confident, very knowledgeable, obviously used to explaining challenging topics because she's a lecturer with undergraduates and she works in a clinic with the general public. So Ms. Kanimoli Arasu, we're delighted that you are in our top 11. Now, here was one I was very excited by the topic of because I thought he was going to regenerate the teeth that I had lost as a child. It's not quite that, but this is a biodentist who is using natural science and current technologies to improve the quality of life of patients suffering from toothache. And let's face it, I don't think there's a single person here or listening who hasn't gone through the agonies of toothache. I would also like to give him a shout out for how professional he looked. I like to see a man in a suit and a tie, and Dr. Galvin Sim Siang Lin was superbly dressed in suit and tie, and we're delighted that he is within our winners this year. I am extra, forgive me. It's a bit like saying, you know, I treat all my children myself, but I prefer, you know, I like this one even more. So please forgive me. With our 11th participant, I think we need to promote our teachers more than we do. Our teachers are wonderful. And if I had had this lady teaching me physics in school, I may not have failed my physics O-level. She was a great personality. I can imagine her in the classroom, really getting her students excited. The only thing I would say, a little bit of a tip here, I would suggest she chooses a different topic for the final, perhaps with you know, more public relevance and appeal. But she was fantastic, a physics teacher. I'm going to give a shout out to Shri KDU Secondary School in Petaling Jaya, Z Yen Hu.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Liz Alexander, for your feedback. And thank you, judges, for all of your hard work in making another successful FameLab Heats for this year. Thank you, judges. All right. Congratulations to all of the finalists who make it to national final round. We will be sending you an invitation to your masterclass latest by next week. So with that, we are coming to an end of FameLab Malaysia 2021 virtual heats, and we shall see you again on 9th of September 2021 for FameLab National Final, where the finalists will compete for the title of FameLab Malaysia 2021 National Champion. So stay tuned. We'll see you again on this September, and thank you everyone, and to all of our national finalists, all the best. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Hasana. Bye. Judges.
Thank you, Hassana.